Talon Marek's ship rattled as it skimmed the edge of the shattered moon. The magnetic storms above the debris field made the hull groan, and sparks hissed along the docking clamps. He gritted his teeth, fingers tight on the controls, scanning the swirling wreckage. Scrap floated in every direction, glinting like dangerous jewels. One wrong move and a chunk of metal could tear through the hull. He had come for salvage, nothing more. Simple, quick, profitable. Then he heard it. A cry. High-pitched, almost human, cutting through the mechanical roar of the storm. Talon froze, his pulse jumping. It wasn't a distress call from another pilot. It wasn't a drone malfunction. It was alive. Something small, frightened, and desperate. He toggled his helmet mic. Who's there? His voice sounded strange even to him in the echoing cabin. Nothing answered. The cry came again, closer this time, echoing from somewhere beneath the twisted slabs of metal. Talon's heart hammered. He could turn away, leave the scrap, and still finish his day with a decent haul. But curiosity, and something else, a gnawing sense of duty, kept him rooted. With careful steps, he left the relative safety of the ship, climbing over jagged plates and loose cables. The cry grew louder, sharper, urgent. His boots clanked against the metal, sending clouds of debris floating in zero gravity. Then, between two crushed hull panels, he saw it, a tiny shape curled in on itself. Scales shimmered like liquid silver in the harsh floodlights. Big, round eyes glistened with tears, reflecting his own. A hatchling. A dragon hatchling. Talon's chest tightened. Its wings were folded awkwardly, almost too small to fly. Between its claws lay a broken mechanical toy, a little robot that had clearly once moved, now twisted and useless. The dragon's tiny head dropped onto the toy again, letting out another pitiful whimper. It was fear, loss, and confusion in one trembling sound. Instinct kicked in. Talon edged closer, careful not to startle it. "Hey, it's okay," he said softly, reaching out. The hatchling flinched, hissing faintly, but did not run. Its eyes followed him, wide and questioning. He scanned the area, half expecting another creature, another trap. But the debris field was silent, save for the storm above and the hiss of escaping air from his suit. He crouched, letting his presence be calm and steady. "Don't worry. I won't hurt you." For a moment the hatchling just stared. Then, in a small act of trust, it nudged the broken toy toward him, as if showing him the damage it mourned. Talon caught it gently, examining the bent wires and cracked casing. He frowned. "Not much I can do here," he muttered. But he promised himself he'd try. A sudden lurch threw him sideways. The storm intensified and chunks of scrap spun dangerously close, each collision sending metallic shrapnel whistling through the air. One piece slammed into the hatchling's small wing. It screeched, a sound that tore at Talon's chest, and scrambled back into a crevice, trembling. "No," he shouted, lunging. Using a scrap panel as a shield, he blocked the next flying shard, gripping the hatchling with his free hand. His heart pounded. One wrong move and he could lose both the dragon and himself. But he refused to retreat. Courage wasn't thinking about fear. It was acting despite it. He steadied himself against a large slab, holding the hatchling close. The creature's body shook, but its eyes locked on his. In that instant, Talon understood something. This was no ordinary animal. It was intelligent, aware, scared of the world but willing to trust the first human who showed empathy. He swallowed hard. Responsibility sank into him like a weight and a light at the same time. Then came a second, unexpected sound. A faint hum, mechanical and deliberate, coming from the scrap beneath his boots. The artifact, the pile of metal where he had first seen the hatchling, glimmered faintly. Symbols flickered in iridescent patterns along the shards. The dragon's scales caught the glow, flashing silver, then blue, then green. Talon blinked. He had no idea what he was seeing. The hatchling whined, nudging him as if urging him to do something. Talon realized the creature had caused this. Somehow, its cries interacted with the artifact. He had no blueprint, no guide, no idea what would happen next. One wrong move and the whole field could collapse or worse. Yet he felt a strange, stubborn resolve. He could not leave. Not when he had found this. Talon adjusted his grip and whispered, "All right, little one. Let's see what you're hiding." Before he could take another step, a massive chunk of debris, unseen until now, began to slide toward them, moving faster than physics seemed to allow. Sparks flew. His heart leapt. There was no time to think. Talon could only act, and he dove. The debris slammed into the ground where he had been standing a heartbeat before. Dust and sparks filled the air. The hatchling squeaked, pressed against his chest, trembling but safe. Talon's lungs burned, adrenaline surging. He looked down at the creature and for the first time truly saw it, not just as salvage or curiosity, but as a living being with a fragile life depending on him. And somewhere beneath the debris, a faint glow pulsed from the artifact. Seemed to be waiting. Talon's eyes narrowed. This was no ordinary salvage run. This was a discovery that could change everything. But he had no idea how dangerous everything would get. Talon barely caught his breath as the dust settled. The hatchling clung to his chest, wings trembling. Its eyes, wide and luminous, darted around the wreckage. The debris field was no longer just a graveyard of old ships. It had become a maze of shifting dangers. Sparks flew from jagged metal edges, and the faint hum from the artifact grew louder, pulsing in sync with the hatchling's quiet whines. He scanned the horizon through his helmet visor. Then he saw them drones. Sleek, angular, and moving fast, metal glinting under the storm's electric light. Salvage drones. Not his own. Someone else had tracked him here, drawn by the beacon he hadn't even realized he'd activated when landing. Not good, Talon muttered. He tightened his grip on the hatchling and pressed himself against the twisted hull. His mind raced. He could fight them off, maybe, but he was outnumbered and outgunned. The drones hovered closer, scanning beams sweeping the wreckage. One glance and they'd see him. One glance and the hatchling would be taken, or worse. He needed a plan. Fast. A sudden spark caught his eye, a jagged plate sticking up from the scrap. He grabbed it, using it as a makeshift shield. Sparks flew as a drone's pulse cannon hit a nearby slab, sending shards spinning. The hatchling screeched and tried to hide behind him. Talon kept moving, sliding and ducking between debris, every step calculated. He had to protect it. That was his priority now. Then came the unexpected. The hatchling cried out, not in fear but as if signaling something. Talon froze, heart thudding. The artifact beneath them responded. A holographic shimmer flared across the shards, symbols and lines forming a crude map of star systems. The hatchling's cry seemed to make the light pulse faster, brighter. What the hell? Talon whispered, awe and fear mixing in his chest. He had no idea what he was seeing. The artifact, the hatchling, some connection existed between them. He could sense it. He had no time to analyze, no instructions, only instinct. One of the drones pivoted toward them, its cannon glinting. Sparks flew from a nearby plate as it fired. Talon lunged, using the shield to block the blast. The force threw him sideways, but he kept the hatchling pressed to his chest. His mind raced. The drones were programmed for salvage, not killing, but they wouldn't hesitate if something moved against them. He needed a diversion. He glanced around and saw a pile of scrap with jagged edges, precariously balanced. A calculated kick sent it toppling, sending shards tumbling and temporarily blocking the drone's path. The mechanical hum of the artifact drowned out for a moment, but the hatchling's eyes stayed locked on him as if approving his move. Talon crawled toward a narrow passage between two hulks. The drones hesitated, recalibrating. He whispered, almost there, just a little further. His palms burned from friction against the metal, sparks kissing his gloves, but he refused to stop. Each move had to be perfect. Any misstep could kill them both. The artifact pulsed again, brighter now. Talon realized the hatchling wasn't just scared, it was communicating with the strange device. The patterns of light shifted, almost like it was speaking a language he didn't know. Every pulse made him more certain of one thing. This creature was extraordinary, far beyond any animal he'd ever seen. Another drone fired, narrowly missing him. He rolled, clutching the hatchling tighter. The small creature made a soft noise, a sound of frustration and urgency, and nudged a loose cable dangling from above. Sparks erupted as it touched the artifact. Symbols jumped across the shards, forming a glowing arrow pointing deeper into the wreckage. Talon's pulse quickened. The hatchling was leading him somewhere. The drones noticed, pivoting toward the new position. He had seconds. He couldn't fight them all, not in the open. He needed the hatchling to trust him, to guide him through this chaos. Okay. I follow you, he whispered, letting the hatchling hop onto his forearm. Its claws were tiny but firm. He sprinted through the narrow passage it indicated, dodging falling debris and electrical arcs. One drone fired again, grazing his shoulder. Pain lanced through him, but he ignored it. Protecting the hatchling mattered more than anything. They reached a small alcove formed by two twisted ship hulls. Talon pressed the hatchling against his chest, catching his breath. The artifact glowed intensely now, pulsing in rhythm with the hatchling's heartbeat. Talon realized it wasn't random, it was alive in some sense, responding only to this creature. He crouched beside it, inspecting the glowing shards. A sudden jolt of metal behind them made him spin. Another debris slide, faster and louder this time. Talon's eyes widened. Something else was moving in the wreckage. He couldn't see it clearly, but it was massive. Not a drone. Not Salvage. Alive. And it was coming closer. The hatchling shrieked, flapping its tiny wings in panic, but Talon held it steady. His mind raced, calculating every possible move, every escape route. He had survived storms, rogue debris and rival scavengers, but nothing had felt this unpredictable. His chest tightened, not from fear but from determination. This wasn't just Salvage anymore. He had stumbled into something bigger. Something dangerous. Something that could change everything if he survived. And then, from the shadows of twisted metal, a glint of something enormous, scaled and moving caught his eye. Talon's stomach dropped. Whatever it was, it had noticed them. He swallowed hard. He could run, hide, maybe escape, but now he had to act. Not just for scrap. Not just for himself. For the hatchling. The glow from the artifact flared as if signaling the next move, and the hatchling chirped sharply toward the looming shadow. Talon tightened his grip, took a deep breath, and stepped forward into the unknown. He had no idea what waited ahead. But whatever it was, he would face it. And that's when the first massive shadow lunged from the debris, crashing down with a roar that shook the hull around them. The roar echoed through the debris field, metal shivering under the force. Talon's heart thudded against his chest as the massive shadow loomed above him. He had no clear idea what it was, only that it moved with intelligence, not like a drone, not like debris. The hatchling squirmed in his grip, wings flaring as if trying to protect him, or maybe warn him. "Easy, easy," Talon whispered, trying to calm the tiny creature, though his own nerves were fraying. The shadow shifted, revealing scales glinting like burnished bronze. Its eyes were sharp, calculating, yet not hostile. For a heartbeat, time froze. Talon realized this was no enemy, at least not yet. But it was massive. One wrong move and he'd be crushed. The hatchling squeaked and twitched, nudging him toward the artifact. Talon's mind raced. Could it be showing him a path? He crouched, scanning the glowing symbols. Lines of light traced across broken plates, forming an intricate map. Star systems, planets, and strange symbols that defied logic. The hatchling's cries synchronized with the pulses, almost as if it were speaking a language of light. Then he noticed it, a faint trail leading into the wreckage beyond the shadow of the massive creature. He had no choice. The rival drones could return at any moment, and staying meant certain death if the creature panicked. Taking a deep breath, he stepped forward. The massive shadow moved with him, not attacking but curious. Talon's instincts screamed at him to run, yet something in the hatchling's gaze pushed him onward. Step by step he advanced, keeping the creature close. The artifact's glow brightened, highlighting a hidden corridor of scrap, a tunnel narrow enough to hide them, but leading deeper into the field. "Come on, just a little further," he murmured. His palms burned from gripping jagged metal edges, but he didn't falter. The hatchling chirped, guiding him with small, precise movements. Talon realized the creature wasn't just afraid. It understood the artifact, maybe even controlled it somehow. Suddenly, the massive shadow roared again, a ground-shaking sound that rattled loose panels and sent sparks cascading. Talon froze, his mind calculating. He had seconds. Too many drones, too much debris, and now this enormous creature. He had to think fast. He ripped a long cable from a nearby hull and rigged it as a trip line. It was crude, improvised, but Talon's experience told him it could slow the creature. The hatchling chirped sharply as if confirming the plan. When the creature lunged toward them, the cable snapped against a jagged plate, tangling its leg and forcing it to pause mid-strike. Talon exhaled sharply. One tiny victory. He darted through the tunnel, clutching the hatchling. The glow of the artifact illuminated the walls, pulsing in response to its cries. Talon's mind raced. He realized the artifact wasn't random salvage, it was a guide, and the hatchling was the key. Whoever had left this tech had meant for it to be used by someone capable of understanding it. And somehow, this tiny creature had that connection. The tunnel widened into a small alcove, where the debris shifted like a ruined cathedral. Talon carefully set the hatchling down. Its small claws clicked against the metal, but it didn't run. Instead, it leapt toward a jagged platform where the artifact's glow concentrated. A faint, mechanical hum rose as if the artifact were awakening fully. Symbols formed again, clearer this time, converging into a map of a distant star system, one he didn't recognize. Talon crouched beside it, realizing the gravity of what he saw. This isn't scrap," he whispered. This is a map. A civilization, lost maybe. And you? He looked at the hatchling. Its eyes shone as if it understood him. His chest tightened with awe. This tiny creature, abandoned and broken, held the secrets of an entire star system in its cries. Then a sudden jolt of energy pulsed from the artifact. The hatchling squealed and leapt into Talon's arms, wings flaring. Sparks danced across the walls, and the entire alcove trembled. Talon stumbled, shielding both of them, and caught a glimpse of movement at the tunnel's entrance. Another drone larger than before had tracked them. Its optics glowed red, scanning. Talon's mind raced. He had no weapon capable of destroying it. But he had the hatchling, the artifact, and his wits. He realized he could use the artifact itself. Carefully, he maneuvered the hatchling over the glowing panel. Its small cries resonated with the symbols. Lines of light shot outward, striking the drone. Sparks flew. The drone screeched, then powered down, immobilized. A small payoff but a huge risk. Talon gasped for air. The hatchling chirped softly, curling into his chest as if proud of the action. He realized the creature had instinctively used the artifact to defend them both. A tiny, helpless thing, yet far more capable than anyone could have imagined. Then the alcove shook violently. Dust and shards rained from above. Talon looked up. The massive bronze-scaled creature was moving again, rising higher, bigger than ever. But its eyes were no longer threatening. They studied him and the hatchling with intelligence, almost curiosity. It tilted its head. Was it a guardian? Or a predator testing him? Talon swallowed hard, chest tight with adrenaline and awe. He could run. He could hide. But he understood something profound in that moment. He could not turn away. This was more than salvage. This was a test of courage, intelligence, and heart. And he had to pass it, not just for himself but for the hatchling and whatever mysteries lay ahead. The artifact pulsed violently again. Talon's eyes widened. Symbols now formed a portal-like pattern, spinning in midair. The hatchling chirped sharply, wings fluttering in excitement and fear. Talon realized the next step wouldn't be easy. It would be dangerous, unpredictable. But he couldn't stop now. He tightened his grip on the hatchling, inhaled deeply, and stepped forward toward the glowing pattern. Whatever waited beyond this moment, he would face it. Together. And then a flash of light erupted from the artifact, blinding him for a heartbeat, and the world shifted around him. The flash of light burned Talon's vision, forcing him to shield his eyes. When the glow faded, the wreckage around him had changed. The debris field was no longer chaotic metal. It had shifted into jagged towers, hovering and suspended as if defying gravity. Sparks of unknown energy arced between plates, illuminating shadows that moved on their own. The artifact pulsed faster than ever, and the hatchling clung to him, wings flaring, scales shimmering with each pulse. "All right, we're in it now," Talon muttered, teeth gritted. His chest tightened with both fear and adrenaline. One wrong move here wouldn't just cost him scrap, it could cost his life and the hatchlings. A low rumble echoed through the new structure. Talon froze. The massive bronze-scaled creature from before emerged from a shadowed corridor, its eyes glowing faintly, surveying him like a sentinel. It wasn't immediately hostile, but it was enormous and any misstep could trigger an attack. Talon scanned quickly. The glowing artifact hovered ahead, now forming a sort of doorway. He had no choice. The hatchling chirped and nudged him forward as if insisting. Talon swallowed his fear, tightened his grip on the creature and stepped toward the light. Then came the first challenge, a corridor of floating scrap shards, spinning unpredictably. Each shard moved as if alive, and any miscalculation could slice through metal or flesh. Talon's mind raced. He noticed small, faint trails of light from the artifact, forming patterns on the shards. Timing and precision, it was a puzzle. He breathed deep, crouched low, and moved in sync with the glowing paths, guiding the hatchling on his arm. Sparks flew with every close pass. One shard grazed his arm, ripping through his suit, and pain flared. The hatchling shrieked, but Talon gritted his teeth, forcing steady hands and calculated steps. Every movement had consequences, every decision mattered. Halfway through, a massive drone dropped from the ceiling, larger than any before. Its optics glowed red, scanning, targeting. Talon froze. He could try to dodge, but the corridor was narrow. Then he remembered the artifact. He nudged the hatchling toward it. The small creature's cries synchronized perfectly with the pulsing lights, and a blast of energy shot outward, striking the drone. Sparks exploded, circuits fried, and the machine collapsed, jerking violently. Talon's jaw tightened. One victory, but more obstacles remained. Above him, a huge shard of scrap tilted violently, threatening to crush them. Instinct took over. He grabbed a dangling cable, swung, and used the momentum to push the hatchling out of harm's way, then rolled under the falling metal just in time. Pain lanced his shoulder where a shard had grazed him. His suit was damaged. Blood mixed with grime on his forehead. But he refused to stop. The artifact pulsed faster now, casting bright, oscillating light. Patterns formed, an exit, a path beyond this floating labyrinth. Talon saw it and sprinted, timing each leap perfectly, narrowly avoiding shards and arcs of electricity. The hatchling chirped in encouragement, following his lead. Then the massive creature lunged. Talon froze for a heartbeat, calculating. There was no time to fight, only to act. Using a floating panel as a shield, he swung it like a battering ram, deflecting one of the creature's massive claws. Sparks flew as metal met scale. The creature hesitated, surprised by the human's courage. "Come on, little one. Trust me," Talon whispered. The hatchling chirped sharply, spreading its tiny wings. It dove toward the artifact's doorway, scales glowing. Talon followed, leaping over spinning shards, feeling the creature's enormous shadow above. As they neared the doorway, the artifact flared violently. Energy surged around them, dislodging debris, tossing metal shards like missiles. Talon ducked instinctively, shielding the hatchling with his body. The massive creature roared above, but paused, seemingly restrained by the artifact's pulsing force. Talon realized he had only one chance. He grabbed a broken control panel from the floor and jammed it into the artifact's glowing core, improvising a makeshift stabilizer. The artifact's hum intensified, then shifted, focusing its energy into the doorway ahead. Talon felt a shockwave push him back, nearly losing his footing. The hatchling screeched, claws digging into his suit. Then a small miracle, the corridor stabilized. The floating shards froze mid-spin, the energy arcs calmed, and the massive creature froze as if rooted to the spot. The doorway now pulsed steadily, a safe passage through the chaos. Talon exhaled, relief flooding him briefly, but he knew the danger wasn't over. He clutched the hatchling tightly and ran toward the doorway. Sparks and debris rained around them, but his careful timing and quick thinking kept them safe. As they passed through the light, the artifact's glow wrapped around them, lifting them off the ground. Talon felt a strange pull, a sense of weightlessness that wasn't gravity, it was the artifact guiding them. Emerging on the other side, Talon gasped. They stood on a platform of alien design, suspended above a swirling energy void. The artifact hovered before them, now fully revealing intricate patterns, maps of distant star systems, symbols, and something else, the faint outline of a civilization long lost. The hatchling chirped softly, wings folding against its body, scales shimmering silver in the light. Talon's chest heaved. Pain, fear, adrenaline, and awe surged all at once. He had survived impossible odds, magnetic storms, falling debris, drones, and a creature far larger than himself. And yet here he was, holding the hatchling, staring at a discovery that could change everything. Then, just as he started to breathe easier, a ripple of energy ran across the platform. The artifact pulsed again, brighter, faster, and the hatchling screeched, nudging him urgently. Talon's eyes widened. From the swirling energy below, something moved, a massive shape unlike anything he had seen. Not the bronze-scaled creature, not a drone. Something alive. Something enormous. And it was coming closer. Talon gritted his teeth, tightening his grip on the hatchling. He knew one thing for certain. This was far from over. The artifact, the hatchling, and whatever lay ahead demanded everything he had, courage, intelligence, and resolve. He whispered almost to himself, "We're not done yet, not by a long shot." The energy rippled violently, the hatchling squeaked sharply, and the shape beneath the platform shifted, revealing glimmers of scales, far larger than any dragon he had ever imagined. Talon's pulse spiked. The adventure was only beginning. Talon collapsed onto the alien platform, sweat and grime streaked across his face. His arms ached, shoulders burned, and his suit was torn, but the hatchling clung to him, tiny claws pressing into his chest. Its silver scales shimmered softly, reflecting the soft glow of the artifact before them. For the first time since landing on the debris field, he allowed himself to breathe. The artifact pulsed gently, no longer violent, its light forming clear, intricate patterns in the air. Star systems, planets, and symbols glowed with a quiet authority, as if inviting him to understand. Talon crouched beside it, studying the symbols with careful eyes. Every line, every curve, hinted at a civilization lost to time. He realized that this little creature, so fragile, so alone, was not just surviving. It had been carrying the key to this forgotten world. The hatchling chirped, nudging a small part of the artifact toward him. Its cries synchronized with the symbols, forming a simple projection, a map of a hidden world far beyond known space. Talon's breath caught. He understood now. The hatchling had been abandoned, yes, but it had a purpose. A responsibility that was far bigger than either of them had realized. He reached down and picked up the broken toy that had first brought him here. Slowly, carefully he repaired it, bending wires, reconnecting circuits, adjusting small gears. The hatchling watched every move, its tiny eyes filled with hope. When the toy finally sprang to life with a soft whir, the hatchling's wings fluttered and it chirped loudly, nudging him in gratitude. Talon smiled despite exhaustion. Small victories mattered, even in the face of the enormous unknown. As he stood, the hatchling hopped onto his shoulder, curling against him like a living reminder of courage, determination, and trust. Talon scanned the glowing platform, the floating shards, the artifact. He realized he had been tested, not just for physical skill, but for his ability to protect, to think, to act with compassion under impossible pressure. This was what humans did best: adapt, survive, and care even when the odds seemed stacked against them. A low rumble vibrated beneath the platform. Talon froze. His eyes narrowed, scanning the swirling energy below. The massive bronze-scaled creature, the guardian, or perhaps the first of its kind, was still observing from the shadows of the floating debris towers. It had not attacked. It had tested him. And now it seemed to acknowledge him, letting him pass. Talon's mind raced. The hatchling, the artifact, the strange energy world, they were part of something far bigger than Salvage, bigger than him. He had glimpsed a civilization beyond imagination, hidden in the ruins of stars, waiting for someone to find it. And somehow he had been chosen, or at least trusted, to take the first step. He knelt beside the hatchling again, brushing dust from its shimmering scales. "You're more than a survivor," he whispered. "You're a guide, Aki. And I'm going to make sure you get where you belong." The hatchling chirped softly, nuzzling him, and Talon felt a surge of resolve. This small creature had survived abandonment, fear, and chaos, and it had trusted him. He would not fail it. With careful hands, Talon connected the hatchling to the artifact, letting it interact with the glowing interface. Light pulsed along the platform, mapping routes and star systems that seemed impossibly distant. The hatchling chirped, guiding his hands, signaling the next step. Talon realized that for the first time he wasn't just exploring. He was preparing for an adventure that could change the galaxy. The alien energy around them began to stabilize, forming a faint tunnel of light. The hatchling chirped sharply and leapt forward, fluttering through the tunnel. Talon followed, stepping into the glowing corridor. The artifact's light enveloped them, and the debris field, the floating shards, the tests, they all fell away, leaving only the sense of potential, discovery, and hope. He looked down at the hatchling, now perched on his arm, wings quivering with excitement. "We've made it this far," he said softly. "But there's more ahead. Something bigger than either of us can see yet. And I'm not turning back." A ripple of energy pulsed through the tunnel, and in its glow, faint silhouettes appeared, shapes of other dragons, larger, more majestic, watching from the distance. Talon's pulse quickened. He realized the hatchling wasn't just alone. It was part of a lineage, a civilization waiting to be found. And he, a single human among the stars, had become its first ally. For a moment, the weight of the universe pressed down. Danger was not gone. Unknown forces, civilizations, and mysteries lay ahead. But Talon's resolve burned brighter than fear. He had faced impossible odds, improvised, risked everything, and survived. He had protected the hatchling, solved part of the artifact's puzzle, and glimpsed a world hidden in the wreckage of stars. The hatchling chirped again, nudging him toward the tunnel. Talon nodded, a quiet smile breaking through his grime-streaked face. "All right," he said. "Let's see what comes next." The platform pulsed once more. Light streamed through the corridor, revealing the faint outline of a distant planet, alive with energy, movement, and shapes too massive to be ordinary. The hatchling's small body quivered in anticipation. Talon felt the familiar surge of adrenaline, fear, and hope. He took a deep breath. He had no weapons, no reinforcements, no guarantees. But he had courage, ingenuity, and heart. And that was enough. As he stepped toward the glowing portal, the artifact pulsed violently one last time, projecting a vision of countless dragons, skies filled with shimmering wings, and civilizations waiting to be discovered. Talon glanced at the hatchling, their eyes meeting in silent understanding. Whatever lay ahead, it would test him again. But this time he was ready. And the galaxy would see what a human could do when courage, compassion, and determination met the impossible. And just as they crossed into the light, a distant, shadowy shape moved beyond the portal, larger, faster, alive. Talon's heart leapt. The real adventure was just beginning.